Starburst on the ski lift. It was beautiful. It was this bonding moment, and it was the yellow one, which was kind of a bummer. But the thought, if it had been pink or red, you'd have been on the stage with me tonight. I'm telling you, I don't know. So I should move on. Hey, we're casting crowns. We're from Atlanta, Georgia, and that's why we talk slow. And our tea is all sweet and stuff. So but here's what you need to know about us. I'm actually a youth pastor in Atlanta. All of us on the stage, we're all youth workers. So Sunday through Wednesday, we're doing student ministry in our church. We're pouring into people, doing worship in church, and meeting with teenagers all through the week. We travel mainly just Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I tell you that because any Crown song you've ever heard, before it was a song, it was a Bible study for teenagers. And that's what all this is. So even the idea of Thrive, the tree, digging deep and reaching out. Thrive is just our Wednesday night Bible study at our church. We took our kids on a mission trip about 8 years ago down into South Alabama into a flood town called Geneva. Now check this out. We stopped at the park where the two big rivers come together, which kind of makes the flood happen, yeah? And right at this park, there's a tree that's 300 years old. It's called the Constitution tree. And I had to take my students to this tree because they were all, wigging out and talking about it. It took about 8 of my guys to reach around it and lock arms. And I had 60 students on the trip. And every student in my youth group was in the tree, okay? That's how big it is. So the limbs are so big, the limbs are bigger than my trees at home. And they're coming down and touching the ground and going back up. I've just never seen anything like it. And the students are all up in this tree. And there's this farmer, about 80 years old, and he's been following us and helping us and driving a church van for us on the mission trip. And he's been telling me stories since I woke up, right? All day long. And they're all good, but I'm ADD. That's my spiritual gift. So I'm in and out, in and out. You don't know it. I'm just going, yeah. So I'm listening, but at this point, I'm taking pictures of all my teenagers, right? And he's telling me about the floods, and he got my attention. He said, you see that brown line that goes up to the top of almost all these trees? That's the water line. That's where the flood came. He said, all this city was underwater here. And now I'm starting to check this out, right? And he comes back to this tree in the middle of these two rivers. He said, this tree's been here for 300 years. I don't know how many floods have come through here. This tree's not going anywhere. He said, now, Brother Mark, that's what he said all day long. Brother Mark, where reckon we ought to go? That kind of stuff, right? So he says this, check it out. He said, Brother Mark, if you were to take all the dirt out from under this tree, you'd see something pretty much just like this. These old oak trees, there's just as many roots as there are limbs. There's just as much going on under the ground as there is above the ground. If you can imagine everything you're seeing, you got 60 kids in one tree, all of that is going on underground. He said, what's holding this thing in the ground is what's under the surface, not what's above the surface. So we pulled all the students out of the tree, and we started talking about Psalm chapter 1. And this is what we're going to do for the rest of our time together tonight. Blessed is the man who doesn't walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. And on it, he meditates day and night. He's like a tree planted by streams of water. He yields fruit in its season, and everything he does prospers. We started talking about what we see in church versus what we see in the Bible. Sometimes it's different. Sometimes you see Christians in the world, they don't look like this. They look like this, right? Some people in church are all roots, man. That's all they are. They know stuff. They know so much. They know so much about the verses, and they know all the rules, and they know all the stuff you're supposed to do and the stuff you're not supposed to do. And it seems like that's what they're all about. You know what I'm saying? But because there's no love to them, everybody trips over them. And a lot of us here, the bad taste in our mouth we have about Jesus is not really about Jesus. It's about some roots person we tripped over as we were growing up. But then some people in church, all they are is reach. Man, they're going and doing and feeding and loving and serving and clothing. They just want to love everybody. Right? I mean, they're always on a mission trip, always doing, always serving. But sometimes people like that don't have their roots in the Word. They're getting their strength from the good stuff that they do. And they think if they just keep doing good stuff, they're okay. But when you don't have roots, what happens? Life can knock you down pretty quick. So what we see in the Word and what we're going to see in these songs, we're going to sing pretty much every Crown song that you know, hopefully tonight, okay? You're going to see that these are digging deep songs and reaching out songs. Because what we see in the Word is that you can't know enough to belong to God. And you can't do enough to belong to God. The only way to the Father is through the Son, Jesus. The only name by heaven or earth whereby we can be saved. He's the only way to God. You can't try Him. You can only trust Him, yeah? So now that we're believers, why are we still sucking air through our nose, people? What are we doing here? Jesus gave us the answer. He said you need to love the Lord with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength. And then you need to go love your neighbor as yourself. You need to know me. You need to make me known. You need to dig deep. You need to reach out. Amen? So turn to the person next to you and say, Thrive 5, yo. Thrive 5.